They don't pay us to think. They pay us to know. We know we can beat them. There's no excuses why we shouldn't. Win the game. Period. W's on 3, man. Let's go. W on 3. 1, 2, 3. W.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sistren. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report Live. Pre-draft special here on the Louie T Network on the Redskins Report. A lot to discuss tonight. I want to talk about a lot of things. I want to talk about this draft and see if we can get some comments. All right. I want to talk about this draft, talk about this Redskins football team and what this draft holds for the Redskins. What you want to see, look, this is more about you than it is about me. I want to hear what you guys think, what you guys want to see happen, what you guys think are going to happen, what you don't want to see happen for this Redskins football team in this 2018 NFL draft, as we are now about 48 hours away from the 2018 NFL draft. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the schedule. Schedule was released last week. Redskins, we now know who they're going to face, when they're going to face. We already knew the opponents and where the games are going to be. Now we have some order. We have some synchronicity now, okay? We have chronological order of these games and on the road, at home, in what fashion, when's the bye week, when do we play Dallas, when are these division games. I'll talk about some schedule quirks tonight as well. And then I'm going to open up the phone lines to you guys. I want to hear what you have to say about the Redskins and this 2018 NFL draft, or whatever you want to talk about Redskins. I'm going to open up the phone lines and let you guys talk about the Burgundy N Gold tonight. So with that being said, first thing I want to do is I want to talk about the schedule, and I want to talk about just how this schedule looks for the Redskins. Now, again, you know how this goes. It's early in the game, all right? We haven't even gotten through the draft yet. We don't know who's going to be good, who's going to be terrible. We don't know how any of this is going to shake out. We talk about the draft every year, and we talk about the schedule every year, and what we find is that you don't know anything. You think you know, but you have no idea when it comes to the schedule. All right, last year when we looked at the schedule, we thought the Oakland Raiders were going to be a tough game at home. They turned out to be a bad football team, and we destroyed them. It was our crowning achievement last year. Who thought that Week 2 versus the Rams would arguably be the best win on the Redskins schedule a season ago? But as a matter of fact, as it turns out, on the road at Los Angeles, beating the Rams in Week 2 might have been the single most impressive thing the Redskins did a season ago. No one would have thought that to be the case before the season started. So again, I don't want to sit here and make too much of this schedule, and I definitely don't want to talk wins and losses with you. I just want to talk about this schedule and what it looks like, what the Redskins have in front of them, and how this schedule is going to shake out. So let's talk about the schedule first. And then I want to jump into some draft talk, get to your comments, and we're going to do the whole song and dance tonight. Remember, if you're watching this live, first and foremost, thank you. And if you want to be a part of the discussion, I want to open up the phone lines a little bit later on. But if you want to, you don't want to call in, you want to kind of lurk a little bit, or you want to be in the shadows, or you just want to have your comment read, but you don't want to actually call in, you can do it on the YouTube chat discussion. Use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read there. And also, make sure that if you want to jump the line, use Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Use the hashtag LouieTLive, and I will find your tweet and read it on the air. So with that being said, let's jump into this schedule real quick. And I want to look at this schedule and analyze this schedule. So for those of you who haven't had a chance to check out the schedule, here it is. And it's full splendor, all right? So I'll go through it quickly, and then I'll tell you about some of the quirks that I see with this schedule, and then we'll talk about this schedule and what I think this schedule is for the Redskins. So let's look at the schedule quickly. Week 1 at Arizona. So we're on the road at Arizona, a tough place to play. Come home for the home opener week 2 versus the Indianapolis Colts. You stay home the following week in week 3 for the Green Bay Packers. And you go back on the road in week 5. Notice I skipped from week 3 to week 5. Redskins have the earliest possible bye this season, week 4. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But week 5, we come off the bye, Monday Night Football at New Orleans. We return to the scene of the crime, if you remember, one of the most heartbreaking losses of the season last year in New Orleans, up 14 late in that ball game, blow a 14-point lead with less than 2 minutes to go in that football game, end up losing in overtime, get a chance to exact a measure of revenge there. You go back home week 6 for the Carolina Panthers. We owe them one at the crib, week 6, home for the Panthers. And then the first division game of the season, Dallas Cowboys, home, 4:25 start. So that's going to be a big-time marquee matchup on Sunday afternoon in week 7, October 21st. First time we see the Dallas Cowboys in 2018. Then you follow that up with a game against the Giants on the road. And so that's a game that that's usually tough for the Redskins. We'll see if the Redskins can get that one. 2 straight division games after not having played one in the first 7 weeks or 6 weeks of the season. Then you go back home for the Atlanta Falcons in week 9, week 10 at Tampa Bay, week 11 home for the Texans, week 12 Thanksgiving again, 3rd straight year Redskins play on Thanksgiving, this time against the Cowboys on the road for the 2nd time and final time in 2018. Then week 13, Monday Night Football at Philly, 2nd straight year the Redskins play the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia on Monday Night Football. Week 14, home for the Giants. So 3 straight divisional games, a key stretch in the season. We'll talk about that here in a second. As you go for week 15 at Jacksonville, nice warm weather game in December. I know the guys will be excited about that. Week 16, to be determined. That game could be flexed to Saturday afternoon. We'll see what happens there, but nonetheless, on the road at Tennessee in week 16. If not flexed, it's going to be a 1 o'clock Sunday start in week 16. And then week 17, 1 o'clock start at home to wrap up the season versus the Super Bowl defending Philadelphia Eagles. So let's go through the schedule quickly. And these are my quirks with this schedule. So this is the first schedule since 2012 that doesn't feature division games in the first quarter of the season. And I break this season down into quarters. The first 4 weeks of the season is a quarter. The next 4, you get where I'm going with this. And so this is the first time in 6 years since the Robert Griffin III rookie season extravaganza that we don't have a NFC East opponent in the first quarter of the season. If you remember, just to give you a quick recap, last year in week number 1, we faced the Philadelphia Eagles. The year prior to that, the Dallas Cowboys were a week 2 opponent in a game that we should have won at home but end up losing. You go back the year prior to that, if I'm not mistaken, we had the Giants early on in the season. I want to say that might have been a Thursday night game in which we went to New York and lost to the Giants. So, again, Redskins have played NFC East opponents early in the season. That's not the case this year. We don't see our first NFC East opponent until week number 7. Also, in the mix, and this is a similar quirk from 2012. In 2012, we faced the Saints on the road. If you remember, that was Robert Griffin III's first game of his career, and it was a hell of a game in New Orleans. We're home for Atlanta. Remember, Griffin got a concussion in that game as he was trying to slide next to the sidelines. Home for Carolina. That's also another game from 2012. We remember that was the last game we lost in 2012 during the regular season before the bye week. Remember that loss against a Carolina Panthers team that wasn't very good. Dropped us to 3-6 on the season before we won 7 straight, made the postseason, and won the division. Thanksgiving. Remember, we had the Cowboys in that 2012 season with Griffin going on the road and putting on a show versus the Dallas Cowboys. en route to scoring 38 points and beating the Cowboys, beating them really soundly before they made a mad dash, hard charge at the end to cut it to 7 before we staved them off and won the game 38-31. That was a fun Thanksgiving game, a very memorable one as well. So we're back at Dallas on Thanksgiving again. Remember, we were just there 2 years ago in a very high-scoring contest that the Redskins defensively simply couldn't stop Ezekiel Elliott and the Cowboys offense. The following game was on a Monday night, if you remember, in 2012. We played the Giants the week after Thanksgiving in a very tight ball game, 17-16. Redskins end up winning that football game. That was one to remember. That was one we had to have, and we got it. And then we were at Tampa Bay, if you remember, in 2012. Early in that season, we were able to beat Tampa Bay on the road, and we're at Tampa Bay again this year. So a lot of similarities between this year's schedule and 2012's schedule. But anyway, quarterbacks on this schedule: Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Jameis Winston, Carson Wentz twice, Deshaun Watson, Marcus Mariota. We've got some heavy hitters at the quarterback position that we're facing this year. No Case Keenums on this schedule. No Brock Osweilers this year to bail us out. We've got to beat some big-time quarterbacks this year. It's going to be tough sledding for the Skins. Hopefully, they're much improved on defense. We'll talk about that here in a second. Another quirk, third straight year we're on Thanksgiving. Last year, we played the Giants at home in the nightcap. The year before that, we played the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. We're doing that again this season. Only 2 primetime games. We don't deserve them. So only 2 primetime games. I like to count Thanksgiving as a primetime game as well. So 3 marquee primetime games on the schedule. 2 if you want to be literal. But we don't deserve primetime games. There may be a 3rd primetime game added to the schedule if the Redskins get flexed in Week 16 with that Titans game to a Saturday. We'll see what happens there. But we don't deserve to play on primetime. We weren't good last year. And so we have to earn our stripes. I wouldn't have it any other way. And we've got a tough stretch of football. 4 of 6 to finish up on the road. 4 of 5 in a tough stretch there. If you look at the schedule briefly, at Dallas, at Philadelphia, okay, home for the Giants, at Jacksonville, at Tennessee. That's a tough 5-game stretch, of which 4 are on the road late in the season before finishing up at home versus the Philadelphia Eagles. So hopefully we've done our work and given ourselves a chance. We don't need to put ourselves in a hole this year and have to win 5 straight down the stretch to make the postseason, because that's not a favorable schedule to do that in when you've got to play on the road in 4 of 5 contests in such a short period of time. You're asking for trouble against some really good defensive football teams in Tennessee, Jacksonville, New York, Philadelphia, and potentially the Dallas Cowboys. So that's the schedule in a nutshell. Don't want to talk your head off about the schedule too much, because I know that's not why you tuned in tonight. You really want to talk draft, and I understand. And so with that being said, I'm going to open up the phone lines to you guys, allow you guys to call in. I'm going to set the table a little bit, give you some frame points and some references to go off of. I don't care what you bring up. All right, we're going to limit the calls to about 5 minutes apiece. So if you call in, know exactly what you want to talk about, and we can chop it up. But in any event, if you don't have anything particular that you want to say, I can give you some talking points. What selection would most upset you at number 13, or what position drafted would upset you the most? I can answer that right now myself. I don't want to see the Redskins draft Darius Geis at 13. He's not worth the 13th pick overall. Again, my thing is, I just want the Redskins to make the best pick possible, maximize the pick. You can get a really good back. We've seen teams draft really good backs in the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th round. You do not have to select a back at 13 if he's not worth the 13th pick. Darius Geis is not worth the 13th pick. That being said, I don't want to see the Redskins draft a cornerback. I'd be highly upset if the Redskins drafted a cornerback. I don't think the Redskins are that. A lot of people think that the cornerback position is a position of need. I would say that it may be, but it's not that high on the list that you need to take one, especially with some of the talent that I think is going to fall in this draft to 13. I'd be a little bit perturbed if they decided to go with a cornerback, especially one like Denzel Ward that I'm not a huge fan of. But in any event, what's your preference at 13 and at 44? I would prefer to get the running back at 44. That would be my preference. Get the running back out of the way, and then we can focus the rest of the draft on the offensive line, the defense. You can get – let's say that we end up – and I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. Let's say we go with a safety. One of the safeties fall, Minka or Derwin James falls, and the Redskins are in love with one of those guys, and they take them. Well, you can still get a nose later on in the draft. There are other guys. Don't be fixated on Vita Vea. Don't be fixated on Daron Payne and act as if there aren't other guys that you can get, like a B.J. Hill, like a Tim Settle. There are other guys in this draft, okay? So John Atkins out of Georgia. There are other guys that can play the nose tackle position. You don't have to select one in the first round. It's not a necessity, and I really don't think Vita Vea is going to be there anyhow. But in any event, you know, there are other guys. Nathan Hayes, Nathan Shepard out of Fort Hays State. There are other guys that you can draft. It sucks that we don't have a third-round pick because you may miss out on some guys without that third-round pick. This is not the draft to not have a third-round pick. The Redskins are really going to hurt for that lack of a third-round pick. But in any event, I would like to see the Redskins get the running back in the second round and focus on the defense in the first round. If that's a defensive lineman, if that's a safety, if that's a linebacker, have at it. But that's my preference at 13 and 44. And then finally, if the Redskins don't fill in the blank position, you would be highly upset and you think they would regret it in this draft. If the Redskins don't take an offensive guard at some point in this draft, they will regret it. That's my fill in the blank. If the Redskins don't take fill in the blank, they will regret it in this draft. They need to address the guard position in the draft. And again, much like we did last year at the center position, late in the draft, 5th, 6th round, when we drafted Chase Rouillet, I'd love to see them get a guard, say in the 4th round. I think there will still be some value there in the 4th round. If they do it in the 2nd round, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I think you would miss out on some of the upper echelon backs. What I don't want to do is skip out on the backs in the 1st and 2nd round and then come around and try to draft one in the 4th round and end up with another Samaje Perine. I don't want to do that. So I want the Redskins to take care of the back in the 2nd round, and then I think I want to turn the attention to the guard position, and then we can move forward in this draft. Again, best player available. I'm always all for it, but make sure that it makes sense with this roster and what the Redskins truly need. Well, with that being said, let's turn it over to you guys. I'm done talking. I want to hear from you guys. So I'm going to open up the phone lines. There's the number. Knock yourself out. I want to see what you guys have to say. In the meantime, we'll get to some of these comments. And I am so sorry for some of you guys that have been leaving comments this entire time. I know I'm not going to get to all of the comments. But in any event, let's jump into what you guys have been saying. And so I'll run through some of these, and we'll go from there. So Gregory Lightbody says, what do you think of Sony Michel at 44? I don't think Sony Michel is going to be there at 44. So I don't think much of Sony Michel at 44 because I don't expect Sony Michel to be on the board. There's going to be a run at the running back position, no pun intended, early in the 2nd round. And it wouldn't shock me if Sony Michel didn't go off the board late 1st round. You know, Philadelphia Eagles at 32, if they don't trade out of that pick. Sony Michel could end up a Philadelphia Eagle. It makes a lot of sense there. I could easily see Sony Michel going late 1st, early 2nd, and then that run on the running back position happening thereafter. So I don't think Michel will be there for the Redskins, but I wouldn't mind him at 44 for this Redskins football team. I would not have a problem with that at all. No confidence in me. All right. Let's see what we got. I'm trying out here, man. I'm trying out here, Dre. See. What's going on, Nick? It's been a while, man. Stephen Gomez says, what do you want to pick up in the first round? Fitzpatrick, Geis, Payne, or Vea? If I had to pick out of that group of players right there, I think I would take Minkah Fitzpatrick out of that group, because you can't get another Minkah Fitzpatrick later on in the draft. I can find another, because I don't think Vita Vea, and I know a lot of you guys are madly in love with this guy, I don't think he's a 3-down player. I don't think he rushes the quarterback. I think I can find another guy to stop the run. Payne is interesting because I don't think he's a dominant pass rusher, but I think he's got some qualities that down the road may evolve into where he can be a really good 3-down player. I don't want Geis at all at 13, so there's that. Matthew Lynch says, I want a difference maker on defense, a.k.a. best available on defense, not named Barkley. I'm with you on that. I am totally with you on that. I want a true difference maker on defense, too. I think that's what the game is missing for the Redskins right now, and I think that's what they need to do. And so I'd be highly upset if they didn't address that in this particular draft. So I'm with you on that. I think the Redskins need to address the running back or address the defense with their first pick in the draft. Again, if there's another player there that they love, that is the highest rated player on their board, and it makes sense, knock yourself out. Let's see. HTTR to the fullest says, hope the Redskins finally get a nose. I think they will in this draft at some point, whether it be at 13, whether it be at 44 in the second round or in the fourth round. I think the Redskins are going to address the nose tackle position at some point in this draft. You got to assume that they understand that that's a problem. They can't think that Ziggy Hood is the answer. They can't think that Stacy McGee is the answer. They can't think that Phil Taylor's the answer. They know that there's an issue there. We were 32nd, dead last in stopping the run a season ago. They know, and again, I know we had injuries, but let's not pretend that there's not an elephant in the room and that he's not making a ton of noise. They know that they need to address that position, so I think they'll do that. BA says they are going to pick Vita and Geis. They want to. I don't think Geis is going to be there at 44. That's the problem. And honestly, I don't think Vita Vea is going to be there at number 13. I think he's going to go off the board before we get there, but I hope I'm wrong. I'd love the opportunity to have all those guys on the board and allow the Redskins to pick the one that they like the most. HTTR to the fullest says, got us going 7-9. Hope I'm wrong. I hope you're wrong too. Rodney Ray says, it's great that you're back. I'm seeing upgrades in graphics, camera quality, transitions. Keep it up. Hey, man, I appreciate that. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Buffalo Pregame says, any chance you trade ahead of the Bills? No, we're not trading up. Only way we're trading is back. There are players that the Redskins like, but they're going to allow someone to fall to them, especially with not having a third-round pick. Can't see the Redskins wanting to give up any more draft capital. If anything, the Redskins will trade down, but they're not going to trade up in the draft to select anybody. So I don't see that happening as we get our first call of the night. I'll go ahead and take it. You are on the Redskins Report live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
You're speaking with Brandon. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, Brandon, man?
HTTR, man.
HTTR.
Sony Michel at 13, 44, Billy Price, or Tim Settle?
You said at 44?
Yeah, our second-round pick.
Right. You said which one would I prefer?
Well, I mean, if Billy Price is there or Tim Settle's there, so we secure the line.
Yeah.
Either or line. I would take Billy Price or Ragnow, the center, and then later on in the draft, pick another nose tackle, get our line settled.
Yeah.
I think Sony Michel, man. I think Sony Michel at 13 might be the pick.
Really? You think the Redskins will pull the trigger on Sony Michel at 13?
I think so. Well, I'm thinking because I think that the running backs are going to be, there's going to be that, like you said, the run. I think that they're going to be gone. And then you think, okay, let's get the offensive line set at the second round, or the defensive line at the nose tackle at the second round, and then build the lines after we take the top running back.
I can't argue with you trying to build the line in the second round. I wouldn't have a problem with either of those picks, especially if you already went running back in the first round. I wouldn't be excited about running back in the first round, but if that's the direction they decided to go, I would not have a problem shoring up the line on either side of the football with a Tim Settle or with a guy like Billy Price, who can play guard or center, gives you some versatility in there. Obviously, we would probably want him at guard, being that we drafted Chase Roulier last year and expect him to start at center. So I wouldn't have a problem with either one of those selections. I don't know if I would love Sony Michel at 13, though, especially knowing that 4 quarterbacks are going to go in the top 10. Definitely 4 are going to go before the Redskins select. It's hard for me to envision them passing up on somebody that falls at 13 in that situation and taking a guy like Sony Michel. But stranger things have happened, so we'll see what happens, man. But
I'm hearing what you're saying. It's only if like those top 10 players already gone. Like Mika Fitzpatrick's gone. You know, we're left with Vita Vea, stretching for Duran, Payne. I would say get your running back now, and then work on the offensive and defensive line, get that settled. But there's a cool website for anyone that wants to look it up. It's called myfanspeak.com. And it's I don't know if you've done it, but it's a draft that you can do it on your own. You can play the GM. And I've done it several times. And every time I've done the draft and picked for the Redskins, it just seems like the running backs are gone and we're kind of left in a pickle.
Are you talking about in the second round?
Yeah.
Yeah. I told you, I think there's going to be a run on running backs in the second round, early second round. So I wouldn't be shocked.
Do you like Hines?
You know what? He's interesting because he's so dynamic, but he's not a first and second down back to me. He got some first and second down carries at NC State, but really the guy that they featured was Samuels, and he was kind of like the change of pace guy, but in certain instances they would give him the rock on first down. But to me, he's too much. Obviously, he's more explosive than Chris Thompson, but to me, it'd be a duplicate of Chris Thompson if you go with Nyheim Hines.
Our problem is not having a third-round pick.
Yeah, man, that really hurts. It really stings. It really does.
You got to think, if we're in that position and they don't want to take Sony Michel, then, man, and they're still, maybe if someone wants Lamar Jackson, they want to get to 13 to get our pick, trade back, get an extra second, and then I would draft, get like what Doc Walker says, the big uglies.
Yeah.
Get that defensive line set, get the offense to get a guard or center, move Chase Roulier to guard, because in Wyoming he was even better at guard than center.
Yeah.
Put him out, get that top center again. I don't like Daniels from Iowa, but I do like Billy Price and that Ragnow center.
Yeah, I like Frank Ragnow out of Arkansas too.
Once you get the offensive line set, man, we can draft a couple running backs in the 4th, maybe the 5th, get 2 running backs. And you can plug and play. Once you get the offensive line set and the defensive line set, I think we might be pretty good.
Hey, man, I hear you, Brandon. Hey, thanks for the call, man. And I agree with you. I think there are going to be some interesting decisions for the Redskins. And I would love it if someone wanted to get Lamar Jackson ahead of Arizona, because I think that's where he's going to end up. I'd love it if someone wanted to come in front of us, come in front of Arizona and get him at 13. That'd be great. I'd love to trade back, but we'll see what happens. Hey, no doubt, man. Thank you for watching and thanks for calling in. Have a good one. I'd love it if someone came and took 13 off our hands, to be honest with you. Again, especially if there's nothing there that we really want. Now, I find it hard to believe with 4 quarterbacks going in the first 12 picks that there's not something there to be had. There's going to be something there of note, something there worth having. But if we can pick up an additional 2 or get our 3rd round pick back, and pick up an additional couple of picks, I'm all for it, man. I don't want to move too far back, though. You know, what's too far back? We're at 13. I really don't want to go back any further than, say, New England at 23. I wouldn't want to go any further back than that. That's actually really far back in itself, but I'd take both of their first-round picks. 23 and 31, I believe it is. I'd take both of those for 13 and see if you can't get two good football players there. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, what's going on, JP? DMV Pride says, I will be pissed if we draft Geis ahead of any defensive player in the first round. I kind of echo those sentiments, DMV Pride. I feel the same way. I don't want a running back in the first round, especially with some of the defensive talent that will be on the board at number 13. I don't think you can afford to pass up on that. But got another call. Yep, call hung up. So we keep it moving. First name, last name says, if Wynn and Hernandez are both off the board, who should we take? You look like you're a Vikings fan. This is a Redskins show. We'll be talking draft for everyone tomorrow. So if you want to talk about the Vikings, you want to ask me that same question, we'll attack that tomorrow on the live feed. Let's see. Got another call. I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, I hung up. Call back. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. I am so sorry about that. Here we go. Got another call in. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on the Redskins Report live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with? Can you hear me? Hello? All right. And if you're going to call in, make sure you turn your monitor down so we don't hear what you're watching in the background. All right. Buffalo pregame says, congrats on your 2 primetime games. Funny. Hilarious. All right. John Perez says, all right, we got a call. I'm going to go ahead and take it. You're on the Redskins Report live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Louie T, this is John Perez. How you doing, man?
What's going on, JP?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, man. What's going on with you?
Good to hear from you, man. It's good to be back. Very excited for the draft. I can't wait to take this thing off, man.
Yeah, me too, man. It seems like we've been waiting forever for this to finally get here, and so I'm excited to see what happens.
I know. I only have like a couple minutes because I'm actually at work right now. I work in a grocery store, but we close at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Just your quick thoughts, and then I'll probably jump back on after work.
Okay.
One thing I had to bring this up. After watching tape on Marcus Davenport, I'm really impressed with the way he handles himself on the football field. He can get to the quarterback. I think this is a guy that has tremendous potential as a pass rusher in the NFL. I also have a huge affection for Minka Fitzpatrick of Alabama. If you had to choose either one of those guys, which one would you take the most?
I would take Fitzpatrick in that situation. He's so versatile. Gives you some flexibility. The NFL is changing and evolving to where you need that nickel linebacker. He can play that nickel linebacker position. He can drop over the slot. He could do so many different things, gives you so much flexibility on the defensive side of the football. And with Davenport, to me, he's so raw. I mean, the sky's the limit for this guy. And I just did a video on him, and I'll be uploading that between tonight and tomorrow. But he's got a lot of upside. But if you're looking for immediate dividends, I don't know if Marcus Davenport is going to be that guy. I mean, 3 years from now, he might be the best pass rusher out of this draft. But if you're looking for immediate turnaround on your investment, Marcus Davenport may not be the guy you're looking to take at 13. Minka Fitzpatrick, however, is a guy that you're going to get immediate results from. And he'd be too hard to pass up on at that point in the draft.
Absolutely. I I would not be surprised if Fitzpatrick falls at 13 because, like you said, the quarterbacks are going to go so quick in the draft. Isn't there a report that there's going to be like 3, maybe 4 quarterbacks going in the first 5 to 10 picks?
Absolutely.
There could be
absolutely
5 or 6 going overall in the first round.
Right. I fully expect 5, and in my mock draft I had 6 going, and I fully expect 5. That's to me all but a lock. 5 quarterbacks are going. And I really think Mason Rudolph is going to sneak into the back end of the first round. So you're talking 6 quarterbacks. You're talking 4 out of the first 5 picks being quarterbacks. I mean, that to me, those are givens. It's just in what order are they going to come off the board?
Yeah, this 2018 has been a huge year for quarterback. I think we had a crazy quarterback free agency class, and now we're going to have one even crazier in the draft with a lot of these guys coming off the board. I'm hearing Baker Mayfield could go number 1 to the Browns. I'm hearing that Josh Allen could go to the Browns at number 1. I'm hearing that, which means good football players are going to drop down the board to teams with needs, like you said, the last couple of weeks, because it's a quarterback league. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance.
Absolutely. I say it all the time, and I mean, we've seen that come to fruition year after year after year. You can only go so far without having a quarterback, and so you got to see what's going to happen. But I expect someone really good of high quality to fall to 13, and if you're the Redskins, you can't afford to pass up on that opportunity. So we'll see what happens.
I think a lot of players. Okay, I had to bring this up because I know you're an eye-on Redskins fan and you despise the Cowboys with a passion. Des Bryant, the star for wide receiver who was released, I think it was a week or 2 ago, he's still on the free agent market, and it's still unknown whether he has good football in front of him, which I think is ridiculous because I think he's a top 5, top 10 wide receiver in this league, and even though he had a little bit of a falling out with the Cowboys, I want to know your thoughts if we could sign him to like some kind of a 1-year or 2-year prove-it deal, because I think with the way when he said that he wants to play in the NFC East and play against the Cowboys twice a year, I don't think you can pass on taking him as a free agent. But you have to wonder, is he going to cause problems on the sidelines with his outbursts? But I don't think he's a great player. I don't think he's as bad as Odell Beckham Jr. is in terms of mentality. But I want to know your thoughts.
Yeah. All right. So, and hey, appreciate the call, JP. Hit me back when you get off work. I'm gonna take that one. And I'm gonna let you go.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. That's interesting. So let's talk about Des Bryant, because I know a lot of Redskins fans that don't want any part of him, and I can see why. I understand, from the standpoint of is he washed up? He's a Cowboy, yada, yada, yada. I don't care anything about that. I don't give a damn if you play for the Cowboys, Giants, Eagles. If you're a good football player and you can help our team, sign me up. But in the case of Des Bryant, I think he's still got good football left in him. I think that the biggest issue in Dallas was the fact that their quarterback, Dak Prescott, wasn't willing to throw the football up and give Des Bryant a chance to go and get it. It's not a coincidence that since Tony Romo has exited that lineup, that Des Bryant's numbers have plummeted. Look, don't sit here and tell me that Ezekiel Elliott's emergence has somehow stopped Des Bryant from getting numbers. Don't act like DeMarco Murray didn't set the NFL on fire with over 1,800 yards in 2014, and Des Bryant didn't have like 1,300 yards receiving that same season as the Cowboys were 13-3 and got jobbed in the playoffs with the Des Bryant catch, no catch in Green Bay. The guy was a stud, and they were handing the rock off to DeMarco Murray that year. The difference between 2016 when Ezekiel Elliott had 1,800 yards and DeMarco Murray having 1,800 yards in 2014 is that Tony Romo, off play-action fake, was throwing it up to Des Bryant and allowing him to attack the football, which is what he does best, and Dak Prescott isn't willing to do that. So, translation, you're seeing a dip in his numbers. I don't think he's a head case on the sidelines. Is he a little different? Yeah, he's a little different. I mean, we heard the whole monkey situation and all of that. Look, we know he's a little bit of a different guy. But he's a competitor. He wants to win. I've heard nothing but good things from him, from his teammates in the locker room. I don't think he's a big malcontent like people try to make him out to be. I've heard a lot of people compare him to T.O. That's garbage. T.O. was definitely a cancer in the locker room. That's not what Des Bryant is. do I care that the Redskins don't want him? I can tell you that right now. If they did, he would have already been signed because the Redskins, they usually pounce on situations like this. I thought that Bruce Allen was going to go after him, but obviously they don't want him. If they did, he'd already be in Washington and he would have been already signed up. I think he's going to end up with the Texans and Houston when it's all said and done. But in any event, I'm here to tell you that I wouldn't mind Des Bryant on the Redskins, and I think he's still got a lot of good football left in him. But that's just me. But I don't see him signing a one-year prove-it deal. I think he's not going to sign until after the draft. You're going to see all these teams go through the process of the draft, see what they get. And if a team doesn't get a receiver in the draft, they strike out at the receiver position, and this isn't a great receiver class anyway. If they strike out at the receiver position, then you're going to start to see teams come calling Des Bryant, and then he'll start to see some deals manifest themselves, and he'll sign somewhere. But I don't think it's going to be with us. In any event, Melvin Gloson says, I hope we get Vita Vea, and I hope the Giants don't pick up Saquon Barkley, but that's wishful thinking. You may have to add another dangerous back that the Redskins will have to contend with for the next 7 to 10 years if they decide to go that route. And it's looking more and more like that's what they're going to decide to do. As we get closer and closer to the draft, it's looking like they're going to go with Barkley if Sam Darnold doesn't fall to them at number 2. If Darnold's there, they're taking Sam Darnold. But if he doesn't, if the Browns take Darnold off the board, number 1, which I fully expect them to do, then I think they're going to either take Saquon Barkley or Bradley Chubb. Most likely, I think it's going to be Barkley. It's starting to become more and more likely that it's Barkley, but we'll see. Andre P. Musgrove says, I hate to say this, but I can conceivably see 12 losses on our schedule, and that sucks. I don't think we're going to lose 12 games. Not with Alex Smith at quarterback. If he's healthy, there's no way I see the Redskins losing that many games. So I know we're not a juggernaut of a football team, but 12 losses. I know the schedule's tough. We play. I went down a list of quarterbacks. We play murderer's row of quarterbacks in this league. I mean, only Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger are omitted from the list of elite quarterbacks. Maybe if you wanted to throw Stafford in there, he's not on the list. But I just can't see the Redskins dropping that many games. Anyway, but let's keep it moving. Buffalo pregame says, do you want the Redskins to trade down for a running back? If we were to take one in the first round, yes, that would be my preference. If we were going to take a running back, let me reiterate this. Let me clarify this. I don't mind the Redskins taking a running back in the first round. Let me state my position. I don't mind the Redskins taking Geis or Sony Michel or whomever they may be madly in love with in the first round. I don't have a problem with that. I just have a problem with them doing it at 13 because there's better value. The first round is about getting the best value possible out of your pick. And, you know, after you take a guy, and I've got a call, so we'll come back to this. I'm going to go ahead and take this call, though. You're on the Redskins Report live with your man, Louie T. Turn down your monitor. It's echoing in the background. Who am I speaking with? Hello? Okay, so got the same problem. They call in, and they're echoing. In any event, I don't mind a running back in the first round. My problem is I don't want them to select one at 13. There's better value on the board at that point in the draft. You know my motto, you know my mantra. Get your guy when you feel the need to get your guy, and if they feel like their guy is Darius Geis at 13, so be it. I'm not going to be thrilled with it, but what am I going to do, right? I would prefer them, if they're going to take a running back, if they want to take a running back. And again, it's not like you just trade back, okay? I hear people say this all the time, well, I want to trade out of 13. Well, you got to find someone that wants the 13th overall pick. So you can't just say, well, I want to trade back. There's nothing here I like. Let's trade back. You got to find someone that actually wants your pick. If the Redskins find a suitor and can trade back and get the guy that they still covet, I'm all for it. So, yeah, I would not have a problem with the Redskins trading back and selecting a running back in the first round. Extreme Archery USA says, Rashad Penny looks amazing to me. His cuts, his jukes as well. Catching, pass protection is garbage, though. Yes. His pass protection it's pretty shitty, to say the least. I talked about that, but he also fumbles the football. That's also a big problem for me with him. I need ball security, but I like his game. I cannot tell a lie there. He doesn't get the tough yards, though. 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, that's not his strength. So, but then maybe that's why you have Samaje Perine. I don't know. We'll see. Extreme Archery USA says, I want the Redskins to take the guard at latest at 5. In the 5th, I guess you're talking about the 5th round, is when you want the Redskins at the latest to select a guard. We'll be talking all teams tomorrow, so if you want to tune in tomorrow when we go live with the pregame special for the draft for all teams, be my guest to knock yourself out and ask that same exact question. Matthew Lynch says, what do you think about Price in the 2nd round? We already talked to Brandon on the phone, and he brought up Price in the 2nd round. I wouldn't have a problem with him in the 2nd round. I wouldn't. Again, it sucks not having a 3rd round pick, because I would even be more inclined to say, go ahead and get you a guard, or an interior offensive lineman that you love in the 2nd round and push running back to the 3rd round. I wouldn't be opposed to that, but we don't have a 3rd round pick. So now that's not an option. So I'm more likely to say, hey, get that running back. You can still get a guard in the 4th round and feel good about him, but get that running back, man, in the 2nd round and get it over with, because once that run on running backs takes place, I don't want to end up in a situation where we're looking at another Samaje Perine. So we'll see what happens. Andre Sherrill says, Redskins should trade back with the Pats and get Geis and Payne. I mean, that's ideal, but again, the Pats have to want to come up to 13 for something. Do they? I don't see them wanting to come all the way up to 13 for anything. Again, we'll see how the draft shakes out, but as of right now, I just don't see it. Dominic Garland says, if Saquon dropped to 13, of course we would take him. But at that point, if Saquon drops past 5, you're going to have a bunch of teams willing to trade up to get him. So there's no way he would drop to 13. Yes, that was bizarre, Ree. I do remember that very vividly. But I skipped a whole bunch of comments, I believe. Or did I? Yes, I did. So here we are. Extreme Archery USA says, which back do you think will be the Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt besides Saquon Barkley? Well, see, those two guys are different than Barkley, because Barkley would be more comparable to, say, Leonard Fournette last year, a guy that went in the top 5 that you expected big things from. Kamara, who I was a huge fan of, and I told the Redskins they should have drafted, and Kareem Hunt were guys that went in the 3rd round, so they're a little bit different. Let's take this call, though. You're on the Redskins Report live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with? Hello? Hello?
This is Robert Gamble. I feel like the Redskins need Darwin James as safety because we gave away Sula Craven.
So you think the Redskins should draft Derwin James at 13 if he's available?
Yes, only if he's available. If not, then I think we should pick up Geis.
So you want to go running back at 13?
Yes, let's just get it out of the way because we already know we can do. Saquon Barkley is nowhere to go to be even close to there. So let's just get running back out of the way.
And that might be the thought process of the Redskins. As we all know that Geis and Daron Payne were both in for visits just a week ago. So we know the Redskins are interested in both. And just because a guy doesn't show for a visit or the Redskins don't request them for a visit doesn't mean they're not interested. But obviously those two are high on the Redskins wish list. So It would not shock me. I've heard people talk about this. I've seen mock drafts where Darius Geis is the pick at 13 for the Redskins. I just can't see them doing that early, but it wouldn't shock me. It just would not shock me. You got anything else?
No, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for calling in.
All right.
I think that the safety position, like, it's not a dire need, but I wouldn't pass up on a talent like Derwin James or Minkah Fitzpatrick at 13 if they're available. For me, those guys would come before even defensive line help, even before a nose tackle. I think I'd take one of those guys before I would take a Vita Vea or Daron Payne. If those guys are available, and I heard a rumor about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that if Minkah Fitzpatrick fell to 13, he wouldn't get past the Redskins at 13. I don't know how true of a statement that is, but I would tend to agree with that. So, but back to Extreme Archery USA's comment. Which back do you think will be the Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt in this draft? There are a couple that I think could fit that mold. I'm not as bullish on any of the backs like I was Kamara last year. So let me get that out of the way. Last year, I was gung-ho. Anybody that would listen, I was trying to tell them Alvin Kamara was a first-round pick. And obviously no one listened to me because he didn't even go in the second round. He went in the third. But he ended up in the perfect spot. I don't think he could have ended up anywhere better than where he ultimately wound up. But I think that Rashad Penny, Ronald Jones are two guys that I look at and I think that could have immediate impacts if they land in the right situation. Obviously, I like Kerryon Johnson as well. I think he can help a team right off the bat. I think the Kamara comparison in this draft would probably be Rashad Penny. Do-it-all versatile back that can catch it out of the backfield, can return kickoffs. Remember, Penny did that as well. Kamara had a kickoff return for a touchdown, if you remember, versus Tampa Bay late in the season. A guy that can just do it all, do everything. I think that's the comp there would be Penny. And for me, Kareem Hunt, Kerryon Johnson looks like a Kareem Hunt type of guy. A guy that ran strictly out of the gun at Toledo in Hunt, that was tough as nails, that a lot of people overlooked. Wasn't the fastest guy in the world, but you knew what you were getting. I think the same thing can be said for Kerryon Johnson. A lot of gun runs at Auburn, a lot of read option, and a really tough guy. Played through some injuries. Not really fast, but you know what you're getting and can be an impact player day one. So those would be my comparisons to those two backs. Steven Gomez says, how would you feel if they got Payne and Geis in the first round? I heard rumors that the Redskins might trade some picks in 2019 draft because they're going to have 11 picks next year. Obviously, the compensatory picks are what everybody's been buzzing about because of all of the free agents the Redskins have lost. I don't really know, what the Redskins are going to decide to do. They love, I think they love both of those guys. And it wouldn't shock me if they took Payne at 13, which is what I mocked the Redskins to do. And then if Geis is sitting there, say at, let's say Geis is sitting there at 31, 30, let's say 32 at Philadelphia. And, team, the draft makes, what was the saying? I'm trying to think of the saying. The draft makes bedfellows out of sworn enemies or something like that. It's true though, just because they're in the division doesn't mean you're not, because you're looking at the trade from your perspective. If you can pick up some draft capital and get some more assets that's going to help your team, then you're willing to do that even if the team is in your division. So it wouldn't be out of the question for the Redskins to trade back into the first round with the Philadelphia Eagles or the New England Patriots at 31, or the Minnesota Vikings at 30 even. So we'll see. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Extreme Archery USA says, looking back on the Alex Smith trade, do you think it was a good trade? I do. Just from the standpoint of what were we going to do at quarterback? I mean, don't you feel good knowing that we don't need one in this crazy draft where all these teams have been trading up so much capital to try to get one? We would have been right in that mix having to trade up to get a quarterback because we wouldn't have had one. You know, Kirk would have been in Minnesota still, and we would have been sitting here twiddling our thumbs. Maybe we would have went after someone in free agency. I've heard reports that Teddy Bridgewater would have been the guy. I don't know if I would have loved that. I'm not a huge Teddy Bridgewater guy. So we'll see. I think Alex Smith gives us – I told you I didn't want to suck for 2 years, which would have happened if we would have had to have selected a quarterback in this draft. We would have sucked for 2 years. I didn't want to do that. So do I still hate the fact that we had to give up Kendall Fuller and a third-round pick? Of course. No one's excited about that, but at the end of the day, you do what you got to do, and the Redskins did what they had to do. Mike the 20th says, a terrible schedule in my opinion, an early bye, which I can't stand either. No NBC games. We didn't deserve it. We didn't deserve to be on NBC, and you got to earn those. He says, what do you think? Looks like I'm going to have to wait another season for a good team and a schedule. Look, you got to make your schedule good. You know, the NFL, you know you're going to get your primetime game versus the Cowboys, which we do on Thanksgiving. Generally, they put us up on some kind of primetime platform against another NFC East team. Last year, we played the Eagles on Monday night. This year, we're playing the Eagles again on Monday night. But you want to play the Oakland Raiders on a Sunday night. You want to play the Kansas City Chiefs on a Monday night. You want to be one of those teams that garners that kind of attention. You got to win. And we didn't win last year. So the schedule isn't great, but what can you do? All you can do is go out and play them in the order that they put them down for us to play them, and just hope we're good enough to win more than we lose and let the chips fall where they may. So we'll see what happens. Andre Sherrill says, Redskins should trade back and get the Pats' 23rd and 31st pick Geis and Payne. Obviously, I think that's what they would prefer to do, but again, the Patriots have to want to come up to 13 for something. It's not like the Redskins can just say, hey, we want to move back, New England, take 13, and we're going to take 23 and 31. They got to want something at 13. So the draft has to fall in a way that they want something. Boy, I would hate. Let's say that the Patriots want Minkah Fitzpatrick. Boy, I'd hate to trade away a chance at selecting Minkah Fitzpatrick. He turns into the next Ed Reed. And again, he's a different type of player than Ed Reed, but I'm just saying a Hall of Fame type player. And we passed on that to get Payne and Geis, who might turn out to be solid players, but not Hall of Fame type players. Like, that's what I don't want to do. I'm scared of trading out. I'll give you an example. And I really don't like to bring this up because Ryan Kerrigan, the showstopper, has been really good for us. He's been really consistent. Man hasn't missed a game in his career. So I'm not complaining. But we traded back in that draft. I believe it was the 2011 draft, if I'm not mistaken. We traded back in that draft, and we passed on J.J. Watt, an opportunity to take J.J. Watt, and traded back so that the Jaguars could come up and select Blaine Gabbert. And we got Kerrigan, which was great. But we passed up on a potential Hall of Fame player in J.J. Watt. I don't want to do that again. So, we'll see. Mike the 20th says, continue, and I'm tired of seeing my boys on Thanksgiving facing the Cowboys, having to worry about my turkey game burnt and my boys getting burnt on the same day. Hey, I'm with you, bruh. I was like, can I please just enjoy my Thanksgiving? Like, I don't like being nervous and, you know, having to worry about us playing on things. Let me just eat my turkey, Well, I'm a vegan now, so I don't eat turkey, but let me just enjoy my damn food, my yams, my mac and cheese. Let me just enjoy my cranberry sauce. Let me just enjoy my Thanksgiving meal, my family, couple drinks, and let me just shoot this shit and not have to worry about the Redskins stinking it up on Thanksgiving. Can we just allow me for 1 year to enjoy Thanksgiving like everybody else? I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Mike the 20th says, how do you feel about Daron Payne if they draft him? And how do you feel about a defensive tackle? I don't have a problem with a defensive tackle. I don't have a problem with Daron Payne if they take him. I don't have a problem with them selecting a defensive tackle at 13. No problems with it whatsoever. We need that position. It may arguably be the biggest need on the football team as it stands. Wouldn't have a problem with it at all. Reese says, how early do you want your boys to address the running back position? Second round. If you trade back, okay, first round. If you trade back into the first round, okay, first round. But if you're talking 13, no. 44 would be the earliest I would want the Redskins to address the running back position if they weren't to make any trades. Let's see. All right. I think I skipped over a bunch of comments. And let me check Twitter real quick just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Let's see. We're going to do this until 10:45-ish. That's what it looks like. At Redskins Recon says, I'm scrambling to watch more film on Tremaine Edmonds since Kime has us mocked to take him. Been feeling that the team would prefer Payne over any defender not named Chubb, James, or Minka. And if this kid is LeVar-like and from the area, gotta take a look. I'm just now diving into Tremaine Edmonds' tape. I literally just started watching it today. So I can't really give you a full breakdown of him, but I will be releasing that video, if not tomorrow, sometime before the draft on Thursday. But I've heard nothing but good things about this kid. He's only 19 years old. He's got a long frame. He's already big for his position at 6'4", right around 250, 245, 250. He's huge. He's freakishly athletic. I think he can rush the passer. He just offers you so much versatility. So much like LeVar did as a pass rush. Remember that year under Marty, LeVar had 10 sacks. I'd love to see that happen, but again, I got to watch tape on you, so I don't want to sit here and sell you a dream. Hey, you're on the Redskins Report live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, this is Nelson.
What's going on, Nelson?
Yeah, hey, so I was hearing a lot of good stuff, you know, with us being in the 13th pick. You know, we have a lot of versatility that we can do, and it's exciting. I was watching Doug Williams kind of addressing the media, and I think the approach is really good on what they've done so far. I know a lot of people don't really feel what we've done as free agency, but I felt like we didn't go crazy knowing that, hey, we have the draft coming up. We have a lot of options of moving back. And I agree with you. I think grabbing Geis at 13, I'm not a big fan of it. I feel like, again, we'll be reaching for somebody who we can maybe get later on or get a back who complements, because we have so many different backs with different types of run styles. That again, if we get somebody like Geis, who gets those hard yards, who does things a little bit, you know, different, I felt like again we have these people who have the ability to do it. Do they always do it? No. But I want somebody who's more of a home run hitter. I think when you talked about Alvin Kamara over there from the New Orleans Saints, that dude has the ability to be a home run hitter, and that's what I would like to see more with Geis. I feel like we have, again, not the same type of caliber, but we have people who are around that same type of style. And I like to see somebody who has a little bit more dynamic around it. Especially, too, we have Chris Thompson, who has more of his dynamic features. We know what he can do. And then you got Rob Kelly and you got Samaje Perine. So you got a lot of people who have this style. I kind of want to see it switch up so teams don't have really so much of a scheme because they would have to play so much. But again, with the Redskins, we can always sit here and kind of debate what they could do. I would love to see them get a nose tackle. I know that's we talk about our defensive line. We can't even stop the run, and that's got to be the biggest primary thing. But again, where we're at, I would love to see, you said it, if we could trade back, we would. And I think even Doug Williams talked about it today in that call. He said, hey, or in that media address, he was like, hey, if we can go back, we can, but we need a partner to do so.
Right.
And if we can do that, hey, that's awesome. But if we can't, I would address first that defensive line because, again, we can't even stop anybody if we don't have the right people in place.
Right.
And after that, build off of there. In later rounds, like I said, I'm a big fan of Rashad Penny just because, again, of the ability that he has.
Yeah.
But you're right. He dropped too many. He fumbled. And we had that problem again with Matt Jones,
right,
where you see where that situation happened, and now he's at another team, right? So,
right,
again, I don't want to reach too early for Geis because I feel like we will be losing out, honestly, on other needs because, again, is Geis really going to get us that home run that we need? I don't think so. But if we can stop the run and have more of a balanced offense and defense, I think that's going to be a better outcome for us at the end of the day.
Hey, man, beautiful call, Nelson, man. I appreciate you chiming in, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you, man. Keep these shows up, man. I've been kind of missing them.
Hey, no doubt, man. We're going to start chopping it up a little bit more. I've just been so busy with this draft and breaking down these prospects, man. So we're going to get back to it, though, for sure. But
hey, keep up the good work, Louie T. You know this, man. You do a really good job, man, and you got the nation behind you. So you know you good money, man.
Hey, good looking, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate it, man.
Yep. I think that was a hell of a call. I felt that way last year more so than this year, where I was like, look, man, I want a different type of back. And I've been saying that for years. I want the home run threat. I want the home run hitter. Geis was more of that in 16, not as much. And, yeah, he was dealing with some injuries, but he didn't look like the same guy in 17. And, again, that could have been due to the injuries. He was hitting home runs left and right in 16. Will that come back maybe? I don't know. I don't know if we'll see that guy again or if that was just a facade and that's not really who he is. But, yeah, I'm with you. I would love to see, a guy with Rashad Penny's ability, a guy with, say, the speed of a Ronald Jones, the second, to be the pick. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if that's the direction the Redskins will go in, but I just want a back that I know I can rely on. An all-around back that I can rely on, and we don't have that guy on the roster right now. Chris Thompson is the closest thing that we have, but we know that you only want to use him, but so much. And so we'll see what the Redskins decide to do. I know I don't want to take a back at 13, point blank. Period. I don't want to take a back at 13. There's much better value at 13 than a running back. If you trade back, then I don't have a problem with that. But I don't want to back at 13. All right. Let's keep it moving. Andrew Mason says, how do you feel about Mark Walton out of Miami? He's solid. His biggest thing is he's been injured a ton in his career. He cannot stay healthy, but he does a lot of good things. He's got that Miami back toughness that we've seen over the years from the likes of Frank Gore, Willis McGahee, Clinton Portis. He brings that type of toughness to the field. He's more of a Duke Johnson type of back, though. I don't know if Mark Walton's a guy that you want to turn around and hand it to a ton of times. And, again, his injury history says that you can't anyway. But I think he's more of a Duke Johnson, a change of pace guy. I don't know if I want Mark Walton toting the rock and carrying the load for my football team. So the guy's extremely talented, but injuries have been the story of his career thus far. So we'll see. Reed says, I think Vita Vea could be a good pick for you guys, Lou. You got Jonathan Allen last year. You could really build a solid defensive line. It'd be nice if he were available. I'd like the option to be able to pick between him and Daron Payne and to see which one they like the most. But I honestly don't think we're going to get that opportunity. Mike the 20th says, how about Will Hernandez at 13? Will Hernandez is a beast. I wouldn't want Will Hernandez at 13. I don't want an offensive lineman in the first round of this draft at all, period. I think you can get an offensive lineman a little bit later on and feel good about it. So I wouldn't want to spend, again, too much value to spend a pick at 13 on a guard. But I got to call him and go ahead and take it. You're on the Redskins Report live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with? Make sure you turn your monitor down in the background. I can hear the echo.
All right, this is Rodney Ray.
What's going on, Rodney?
Doing all right, man.
Good, man. Good to hear from you.
I had to write down some notes because I know I could be a little long-winded. But I'm gonna start from the beginning with Kendall Fuller.
Yep.
I feel like people are he's a great corner. I'm going to continue following his career. But I feel like people are just in a panic because we lost a corner and a third-round pick.
Yeah.
We finally have consistency at the quarterback position.
Hello? Did I lose you?
Not trying to downgrade it in any way, but you can find another slot corner in this draft. This draft is deep at the cornerback position. And people are just in a panic over this one player and this one pick. Like the quarterback, you see how much picks people are giving up for this one position, quarterback position, to move up just so we get a chance at it. So I just want to throw that out there. Want to say also we don't really necessarily need a cornerback in this draft. But if you actually get one later on in this draft, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. But we have Skadrick, we have Posey moving up, getting more in time. We just drafted last year at Monroe. Right. A player that was rated as a first-round pick. Right. Talent. But just because we had a bicep injury, fell to us in the third. We can finally use these players more. Right. Easily insert them into this as our number 2 and slot corners. Now, we're going to have some they may have some issues because this is the first time they're being on the field full time. Of course, that happens with any other position. But right.
And don't forget about Q-Bar too in the mix.
Who?
Don't forget about Dunbar, Q-Bar in the mix as well.
Oh yeah. I completely forgot about him. Yeah, he was impressive his first year. I still remember that pick he had on Eli Manning.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why I've been trying to tell people that the cornerback position isn't as dire as people make it out to be. I think we got some stuff there. If we just give them an opportunity to see what we have, I think we're going to be fine there. Like, I hate the fact that we lost Kendall Fuller because I thought he was evolving into one of the best slots in the game. But at the end of the day, I still think we have depth on this football team. That's why, for me, at 13, corner is a no-no. That's off the table. Like, I don't even want to talk about taking a corner at 13. You really want me to throw up on draft night? Take a corner at 13. I'd much rather take a back at 13 than a corner. I don't want a back either, though, at 13. Let me reiterate that. But don't take a corner. That you really want to piss me off, take a corner at 13.
Exactly. Last two things, people are concerned about, we should get Aaron Prentice to Alex Smith. But like you'll find that late in this draft, even undrafted free agents, you can find that heir apparent behind them. I'm hearing some Redskins fans talking about drafting another quarterback in the fourth, and I'm like, we have so many other needs. Push quarterbacks to the side. People always want this new shiny toy just to have, and you don't need all that. Yeah. And my last two picks were people always forgetting about the second wave of free agency after the draft. Mm-hmm. Like, don't be like just all the rest. Everybody in Redskin Nation, don't be too worried if we come out of the draft without having positions not secured. Like, there's a whole second wave of free agency after the draft because there's so many vets that are going to be being cut. Mm-hmm. And so let's say we didn't address the defensive tackle, which I hope they do address. there's still Hankins out there
Right.
who will not sign until after the draft.
Right.
I actually want the Redskins to double down. Let's say try to get him in the second wave of free agency, and maybe get I really love that USF Deidre Sinet, like that man's motor 6'1", above 300. That man's motor is impressive.
Yeah.
And getting with our defensive line coach should be amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
Enjoy the rest of your show, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you chiming in, Rodney, man. Always a pleasure to catch up with you, bro.
All right, man.
Be easy. That was a great call from my man, Rodney Ray, and he made some great points. I think his best point was about the cornerback position. I've said all along that I think the Redskins have depth there, and I want to see what these guys can do. Until they prove they can't, give them a chance to prove that they can. And so everyone wants to go out, like he said, the new shiny toy. We don't need to draft a quarterback in this draft. That would be overkill. I want to see what the Redskins decide to do at a few positions. Corner is one of them. I'm intrigued to see, because if they draft a cornerback early, that's pretty telling. That means that they don't have confidence in the guys that they have in the locker room already. If they pass on that position, then that tells me something. And I think that we have some talented football players there. I'm interested to see what they decide to do there. Let me take this call, though. What's going on? You're on the Redskins Report live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
I'm speaking with Tom, man. Protect Sports, man. What's going on, Louie?
What's going on, Toms? What's good with you, man?
Man, nothing, man. I just got home from work. I saw your live stream. I'm like, oh, let me get on this.
Hey, what's up, man? Talk to me.
Nothing, same old, working, school, same old stuff, you know, trying to do it.
I hear that, man. Talk to me about this this draft. What don't you want to see the Redskins do at 13?
What I don't want to see? Let me see this brief. I swear to God, that I just draft a damn quarterback. They don't do like that.
They're not gonna draft a quarterback.
No QB, no corner. Yeah, definitely no QB, no corner, no skill position player. To be honest, like that's an elite safety maybe. But no corner, no quarterback, no receiver. I don't see DJ Moore, none of that bullshit.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
I like DJ Moore, but we got another receiver. Right?
Yeah, no, not at 13. I don't like DJ Moore at 13.
Corner, not in the first round. Like, not corner in the first round. Maybe if you take a fifth round flyer in the corner, okay. But I'm not taking a corner around one. I'm not. If they draft Mike Hughes or something, like you said with the other guy, I would throw up. I'm like, what the hell? What the hell y'all doing?
Right.
Man, that's no QB, guys. Stupid. I would be all for. I would have to go to Richard and smack the GM in the face. No. That's about it. Like, no skill position players, no quarterback.
All right, so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Tones. Let me ask you this, Tones. At 13 and 44, so first and second round, let's say the Redskins don't trade back, they don't trade anything, they stand pat at their 2 picks. What 2 players would you want them to select in the first and second round?
Round one. In round one, I have 3 choices. You either go Vita Vey, you go Raquan Smith, or you go Derwin James. If you get one of those 3 elite defensive players, I will be ecstatic. I will go crazy. I'll be backwards. Okay. I do not want Darius guys. I'm tired of hearing that. I don't want no damn running back in the first round. No. No Ezekiel Elliott. No. And in round 2, I've been watching the draft 101 series, and I agree with you. I want Kerryon Johnson. I want him out of Auburn. I like the way he runs the ball. I like his vision. I like he runs like Le'Veon Bell. I like his patience. I'm definitely a big fan of Kerryon Johnson. He's not the fastest guy in the world, not the fastest guy in the world, but he gets yards that aren't there, and I want to run it back.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. You can get Kerryon Johnson in the 4th round, most likely in this draft. I'm gonna be real honest with you.
I bet you
I think you can get him in the 4th round.
So if he's not there on the 2nd round, I think the best offensive lineman available is the best guard available in the 2nd round, if we can. Whoever the best guard available, I don't know who it would be, but if you think we can get carry on in the 4th round, I definitely think the best guard available.
I mean, it would have been better if we had a 3rd round pick just to make sure, but I think you might be able to get him in the 4th round.
Yeah, but we don't have a 3rd round pick, so
yeah.
I got to hope. If not carry on, maybe Rashad Penny, but I think he's getting a little more buzz now, so he might go in the 3rd round. So, yeah. But I definitely like carry on Johnson. I'm definitely a big fan of his running style, the way he runs the ball. I definitely would like to have one of the lead defensive players in the 1st round. I don't want no offensive nothing. I want to be a defensive late in draft, except for a left guard and a running back. If he's not one of 2 traditional offense, I don't want nothing.
All right, and last question. Let me ask you this last question. If the Redskins don't fill in the blank position in the draft, they'll regret it.
If they don't fill the need in inside linebacker, I think they will regret it. Because at the end of the day, as good as Mason Foster is tackling, we don't have a covered linebacker. Zach Brown can't cover nothing. Mason Foster can't cover that. They can't cover a lick. And it's going to continue to eat us alive. Look at our Titans in our division. Eric Ingram. Jason Wood, old ass, can still get open. And Zach Ertz is gone. You get a coverage linebacker, they're going to eat us alive for another 3 or 4 years. Don't tell them. Titans eat us up. We need an inside linebacker. I know you said nose tackle. You can fix that by fixing your scheme. You need to go to a 4-3 and fix that. You can't fix the fact we don't have speed at linebacker. That's not named Zach Brown. Unless you draft him.
Yeah, or you could take one of these hybrid safety linebackers that can play that nickel linebacker position, like a Derwin James or a Minka Fitzpatrick, and it would solve our problems because we know we got tight end problems.
Either or, but I want a guy a little more dirt that has that speed. So I want a 4-3 outside linebacker. You can go to 4-3, put Kerrigan and Smith's hand in the dirt. Like they need to be because they're not stand-up linebackers. And go get an outside linebacker.
Hey, Tones, you know they're not going to do that. We've been saying that for years. You know they're not going to do that.
Jesus. God.
They're not going to do it, man.
Can we be giving to the damn team, Louie, please, God?
Oh, man. It would be fun. I know that much. There would be changes made for sure. But in any event, hey Tones, man, as always fun to catch up with you, bro. Don't be a stranger, man. Good to hear from you, man.
I got you, bro. You already know, man. All football season, we gonna talk. You already know, man.
That's what's up, man. Take care of yourself.
You take care too, big dog.
All right, be easy. Always good to catch up with my man Tones. Look, at the end of the day, I'm with him too. And we haven't talked about this. Would you guys be upset if we took a receiver at 13? I don't. Look, do we have a number 1 receiver on our team right now? Have you given up on Josh Doxson being a number 1? After last year, I think I know who Josh Doxson is. But remember, that last year was really, in essence, his rookie season. So I don't want to kill the man yet, but I think I know who Josh Doxson is. We're going to find out together, though. But in any event, how would you feel about the Redskins taking a receiver at 13? What if they love Calvin Ridley and they took him at 13? Would you have a problem with that? I would, okay? I would have a huge problem with that, but I don't know if I would be as bent out of shape. The one position that would drive me bananas if they took him, corner. You really want to piss me off. You know, if we took a guard, I'd be like, guard? What? But I could live with that. We need a guard. If you took a running back, I mean, running back? Scooby-Doo? But I would be okay. I would live. What I can't deal with is the incompetence of them selecting a cornerback. I don't think that's what you need to do, but in any event, I got a call. Going to take it. You're on the Redskins Report live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Christian in Arizona.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, I just wanted to, it's a boring call, but I just want to talk about the tight end position.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got Vernon, Reed, non-blockers. We got rookie out last year.
Yep.
Name coming blank.
Jeremy Sprinkle.
Yes.
Yep.
I think he's a solid blocker, but I think to be a good runner in this league, you need two tight ends to be blocking. How do you feel about us drafting another tight end within the 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds? And who is your pick? Who is your tight end? And mine personally is Troy Fumagalli.
That was the name. That was the first name. When you said 4th, 5th, 6th round, first name that came to my mind was Troy Fumagalli. I'm gonna tell you another guy that if he's around, and I've watched a little bit of him, and he's winning me over, is Ian Thomas of Indiana. That's another guy to look out for. I think he has some potential to catch it, to run, to block, to do everything. So that's another intriguing name. I would be all for a tight end in that range in this draft, 4th, 5th, 6th round, somewhere in there. Again, if those guys are high on your board and you feel confident, I wouldn't have a problem with it. You know, more competition at the tight end position. Like you said, we're not that adept at blocking. If you get a guy that you feel confident that can stick his hand in the dirt and move guys, I don't know if Troy Fumagalli is necessarily that guy or not as a blocker. I'd have to watch a little bit more of him. I know what he is as a pass catcher. I think he's solid as a blocker, but I don't think he's going to be that much different from, say, Jeremy Sprinkle in that regard. So I don't know if you're looking to solidify the running game with the tight end that can actually hold at the point of attack, then you might have to go in a different direction, like a Will Dissly out of Washington or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but in any event, go ahead.
Oh no, just saying, in Jay's system, I think he would love a catching tight end, but it would also be nice to just get that run blocker. I mean, sometimes I feel like we just need a man to stand there when Reed and Davis are getting blown by. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, if I had to pick a preference, I'd probably say a run blocker, just because of the dynamic duo that Reed and Vernon can be. So
yeah, when healthy, those guys are extremely dangerous, and I think they're going to be healthy this year. You know, Reed wasn't healthy last year. Davis was. It'd be great to keep both of them healthy because we've seen what they can do when they're both on the field together. So.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for answering my question. Last thing I'll say is I think we're taking Fitzpatrick if he's there, and that's it.
Hey man, appreciate you calling in, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Yep, no doubt. Tight end is definitely in the discussion as we get into the mid to late rounds. I think it wouldn't shock me if the Redskins decided to shore up the tight end position. No more Niles Paul. There's another opportunity to bring in a guy to compete at the tight end position. Remember, Niles Paul doubled as an H-back as well, so we'll see. You know, if the Redskins decide. And remember, Vernon Davis is like 877 years old. At some point, he's gonna. This is his last year in DC. So you gotta draft his replacement. Why not do it in 2018? So we'll see. Woodland Chrisfield says, Lou, could John Kelly, the Tennessee back, be an option? John Kelly is an interesting back, man. I've been impressed with him. I honestly thought he was going to go back to school for one more year, but he's got some interesting characteristics. He runs hard. He gets tough yards. He can be dynamic at times, but I think he lacks home run speed. And I don't know if he's a first and second down back necessarily, but he's a guy too. And this is a draft where, like I said, the running back position especially is one of those positions where you can get you a sleeper and a steal in the late, to mid rounds. And a guy like John Kelly might be one of those guys that 3-4 years from now we look up and he's a productive back in this league. So we'll see if he's a guy that ends up on a roster and making some plays for somebody. At Token Black Guy says, if Derwin James is available at 13, and let's say Vita Vea of Course Payne are still on the board, do you think the Skins will take James or a big man in the middle? I really want to see Derwin in Burgundy and Gold. I think if they get an opportunity to take a Derwin James or a Minkah Fitzpatrick, they're going to do so. That's just my thought. That's my belief. But I think the defensive line is the backup plan in that situation. But I got a call. Going to take it. Let's see what we have. You're on the Redskins Report live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Yeah, what's going on, Lou? It's John Sluter.
Hey, what's going on, John?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. Good to hear from you.
Good. Man, I think our best option at 13 is Tremaine Edmonds. I think we could, use an inside linebacker. And I think he's only like 19. You know, I think he's got a lot of raw talent for that age, and I think I think he's got a high ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Got a big reach. He's huge, man.
Yeah.
He's massive especially for his age. I think he could be a stud. You know.
Yeah, I think so too, man. And like I said, I just started watching his tape, and just the little bit that I've seen and been exposed to, the dude is quite impressive. The only thing about him is, will he even get to 13? Like, I could see Tampa Bay, taking a snab at him. I could see the Bears. I really think he's going to land in Chicago at 8. He's a perfect fit for their defense with Vic Fangio, but I could see him coming off the board at 8 to Chicago. We've seen all the trouble with the 49ers and Reuben Foster at 9. I mean, John Lynch has already said if Reuben Foster is guilty of all of the accusations and charges, he's gone. They could use another back. So I find it hard to believe, and I know John Keim has everyone all buzzing about Redskins potentially taking him at 13, but I find it hard to believe that he gets past 7, 8, and 9 and finds his way to 13. I mean, even the Dolphins could use a backer at 11. I find it tough to believe that he'll make his way to us, but if he's there at 13, he's definitely in the conversation as a guy that you got to seriously take a look at and want to select at 13. Again, we're going to get some options at 13 to select, and he may be one of them. And if you're the Redskins, you got to do your due diligence, you got to do your homework and figure out if this is a guy that could be the next big thing at the inside linebacker position. And I think he can also help you, and this is an underrated part of his game, I think he can also give you a little bit of edge rush and juice, as well. So,
Right. Yeah, I think where we're at 13, as many quarterbacks that's going to come off the board, I think pretty well, as long as we don't do anything stupid like take a running back or something like that. I think we're golden right where we sit. Somebody of some good value is going to fall down to us. As many quarterbacks is going to go off the board.
I'm with you 110%, John. I feel like at 13, you're in a really good spot for some value to fall your way. I don't know if we're in a spot to where we can trade out, but in terms of just wanting to sit there and just kind of watch some of these dominoes fall and have a guy that we have no business getting our hands on at 13 fall to us,
Right.
I think we're in a really good spot to see that happen, man.
Yeah, man, I feel it.
Hey.
Have a good night, man.
Hey, likewise, John, man. Appreciate the call and love hearing from you, man.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Take it easy. You're on the Redskins Report live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with? Hello? All right. Missed that one. And Andre Sherrill says, how would you feel if the Redskins switched to a 4-3 defense and put Swearinger at outside linebacker? I wouldn't love Swearinger at outside linebacker, but I would not mind the switch to a 4-3 defense. I think we have and have had for quite some time the personnel that more suits a 4-3 defense than that of a 3-4 defense. But Swearinger at outside linebacker, I would not necessarily love that as much as I would the Redskins just, getting another linebacker and having Swearinger stay at safety. Matthew Lynch says, is Arden Key in play for the Skins in the second round? I'm actually going to do a video on Arden Key tonight. So that's going to be out tomorrow. So got a call, though. I'm going to go ahead and take it real quick. You're on the Redskins Report with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Lou, it's John again. Sorry it took so long.
Hey, it's all good.
I'm all good. I just got off work not too long ago. Wasn't sure how much longer you were going to be doing the stream, but yeah, I'm back.
All right, talk to me, man.
All right, I just want to know your thoughts on if you think that. I actually got a couple of questions. The first one I got to ask is, do you think we're going to get huge blockbuster trade on draft day? Not like the one that we got and the Colts with trading spots from like 3 to 6, 6 to 3, but do you think somebody's going to come up from like the mid to late round 1 and trade up to like 5 or 6 to have a chance to take a really good player? Because I'm hearing that the Colts are considering trading down with, I'm hearing it's I think it's either the Bills or I believe the Bills or the Cowboys or something like that. I'm hearing that there could be another big trade on draft day, because I think we usually get 1 or 2 big trades every year, like with what we got with the 49ers trading down from, I think it was 2 to 3, so the Bears could trade up to take Mitchell Trubisky last year. Do you think we're going to get that again?
Yeah. The Bills they're gonna trade up. The Bills, they didn't do all of the things that they've done this offseason. And I just had an interview on my podcast that will be up tomorrow. Just a great interview with my man Damon over at NFL Draft Diamonds.com. And he's a Bills fan. And he said, look, we didn't make all of these moves in the offseason to just sit back and do nothing. They traded away Tyrod Taylor. They trade away their, one of their left tackles so that they could get, the pick up at number 12 to move into position to strike. They want a quarterback. They want a quarterback bad. They're going to move up. The question isn't if, it's when and where. So the Bills are coming into the top 10. They'd love to get at number 2 with the Giants. I don't know if they're going to be able to meet the price that the Giants are asking for, because the Giants, they want to stay at 2 to make sure that Sam Darnold doesn't fall, because if the Browns don't take Darnold, then they're going to take him at 2. So we're going to see a trade. I don't know if you're going to see one like last year with Deshaun Watson or the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, where you see a team coming from like the late 20s all the way up to 11, or what we saw with the Texans coming up to get Deshaun Watson. I don't know if you're going to see that again, but
yeah, you know what was funny about that? Those big trades last year. I was watching that draft. I couldn't believe that the Chiefs and the Texans were going to give up. We're going to trade up to like get their guys in the future. They don't have. I don't think there was like a third team that doesn't have a first-round pick this year. I know the Texans and Chiefs don't. I think it's the Rams.
The Rams, yeah, they traded out of the first round.
To take Jared Goff.
No, they traded out of the first round to get Brandon Cooks from the Patriots.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that was their first round pick. So
yeah, do you think the Redskins will consider making a trade like that without having to give up a lot of heavy draft capital? Like, I don't want to see another Robert Griffin III trade. After what happened with him, I don't ever want to sit in timeout in the first round again after that fiasco.
Yeah, no, I don't see the Redskins trading up. I can see the Redskins potentially trading back. But again, it would take a team wanting the 13th overall pick because there's a player there that they like. And like I've already said, it takes two to tango. And the only way the Redskins can get out is if another team wants the 13th overall pick. And furthermore, I don't want to trade back if you're potentially passing on a guy that could be a future All-Pro, Hall of Fame type player, i.e. 2010, 2011, trading back, selecting Ryan Kerrigan, but passing on J.J. Watt in the process. Like, I don't want to do that. So, we'll see. It's so interesting, and you won't really know until draft day hits because we don't know how the board's going to shake out. We don't know what's going to actually take place, who's going to be available when, and that sort of thing. So it's always fun to kind of see the draft unfold and then see the different things taking place and transpiring as it happens. That's, I think, part of the intrigue with the draft itself. But in any event, man, always great to catch up with you, John, man. And definitely want to hear from you again. You got something else?
I got one more question.
All right, go ahead.
I don't want to keep you on very long, but oh man, what was it? How do you think the later rounds, like the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh rounds are going to go since we don't have a third rounder? And I want to know I missed your thing about the NFL schedule. I want to know your thoughts on getting Green Bay for the second time in 3 years. And do you think we're going to have a pretty good late round pick? And do you think we could get our third round pick back somehow?
I don't know if we'll be able to get a third round pick. That's part of the the intrigue of the draft and having to trade back and to acquire more picks and more capital. But as far as the schedule is concerned, it sucks that in the 1 year that the Packers stink and Aaron Rodgers goes down, they finish in the exact same spot as us. One thing I can say is Aaron Rodgers doesn't have good success against us in D.C. We've beaten him both times that he's come to the nation's capital. It's always been a problem when we have to go to Green Bay. So I like our chances, but again, we've got to be better on defense. We don't know what this team is on offense with Alex Smith now, and we'll probably look totally different. We were terrible on offense last year, after all the injuries and whatnot. So
I know the injuries really kill us, but I'm excited for Alex Smith, to be honest.
Yeah, I am too. It's brand new, it's different, and we'll see what happens. But I think that at the end of the day, the 4th through the 7th round for the Redskins, those are picks that we got to hit on that 4th round pick. Because of the lack of a third, that 4th round pick becomes that much more paramount. So in essence, your 4th becomes your 3rd. And so you can't afford to just say, we'll take a guy here if we don't like him and he doesn't make our team. So what? We'll stash him on the practice squad. In other drafts, maybe your 4th round pick may not make your roster. Most 4th round picks make your team. But this guy has to make our team. He's got to be a contributor. Like, I really want that 4th round pick to be a guard, to be honest with you. Some kind of interior offensive lineman.
Yeah, so you think they're going to take some kind of offensive lineman or a guard in the 4th round?
That would be my guess. That would be ideal. And unless, they haven't addressed defensive line and, there's a guy sitting there that they love, in the 4th round, like a John Atkins or something like that they feel like, okay, he can kind of help us at the nose. And, that's an option too. But at the end of the day, I think that's where you start to look at that.
Yeah, I would actually be okay with drafting maybe a D lineman in like maybe the 5th or 6th round. And I want to know your thoughts on if we should consider this. I bring this up because Antonio Callaway, wide receiver from Florida, he just tested positive for marijuana at the combine. The report came out today. Do you think it's possible, even with all the baggage he's
No.
the past couple of years, do you think
No.
You don't want Antonio Callaway?
No. He's got trouble written all over him. He's not gonna get drafted. B, if he signs with the team, it won't be the Redskins. I can tell you that right now. He's
So
not
have to go somewhere with like really tough coaching or something like that.
somewhere where they're tolerant of his type of behavior, and somewhere where the structure in the locker room, the players police themselves and that sort of thing. We don't have that in DC. So.
All right, that makes sense.
Yep. But all right, John, let me move on. I got other calls, other people trying to get in here, man. I appreciate you calling in.
All right, thanks, Lou.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. If you called, tried to get in, hit me back. But Arden Key is in play in the second round. But, again, I don't think that's a guy that the Redskins – he may be gone in the first round. Who's to say? He may be gone early second. I mean, the edge rushing position is not extremely deep in this draft. So a guy like Arden Key – gonna be in high demand, even though there's some questions. I could see him not being available by the time the Redskins select at 44. But got a call, gonna take it. You're on the Redskins Report live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
That was good, Lou, man. I'm back, man. It's your boy Tones. I had to come back the second time. What's going on?
What's going on, Tones?
And nothing, man. I'm still watching the stream, and I just want to give a little positive call, man. I heard some things, and I want a couple things on everybody. That's all. Not crazy.
All right.
I heard someone talk trading back. Okay. But I'm wondering, what team you think you want our 13th pick?
That's the thing is, we won't know until the draft. Obviously, 13 isn't a hot spot right now. Like, just on the outside looking in, there isn't going to be, because the Bills at 12 are going to be the last spot in which one of the four quarterbacks, one of the hot four quarterbacks, will be available. If anybody were to fall at the quarterback position, they won't get past 12 at Buffalo. So if the Bills were to stay there, and I think they're going to ultimately end up trading up. So at the end of the day, you know, what would be what player would be so tempting that someone would want to come up to 13? Again, that's why you got to watch the draft, because some players may fall, and a team that's sitting at maybe 18 says, hey, man, look, I got to have this dude. You know, and now he's only 5 picks away, right in our wheelhouse. And what we got to do to come up to 13 to get him. And so that you never know. That's how these things go. So.
Or maybe like a team like a Cardinals, like an inside linebacker or something, see what Quantrill fall on. Oh, you might want that guy. Hey, let me, hey, Redskins, can we go for a couple spots? Hey, okay, sure, Cardinals, come on, man.
Exactly.
That's what I'm thinking too. But I'm definitely. That's something else. That's something else. I was wondering. Who would you want for the team?
You said who would I want at 13?
Yeah, who would you want?
Look, I already said I want one of the safeties first. If I get my choice, I want to watch more Tremaine Edmonds. I don't think he's going to be available, but if he is,
I heard that. That's a hell no. He might get past 9.
I can't see it with all of the issues in San Francisco, and I think he's a perfect fit in Chicago. I just don't see him getting past, but you never know. I don't think so either, but you never know. And so I need to watch a little bit more of him, but I'd take either one of the safeties first before anybody else. And then after that, I'd take a defensive lineman. And then after that, you know, then you start getting into, you know, and look, I know Payne is going to be there at 13. So, you know, I guess that's the fallback plan. If nothing else is there, nothing, you know, we opened the Cracker Jack box and there's no prize at the bottom of the box. You know what I mean? There's no Vita Vea, there's no Tremaine Edmonds, there's no safety at all, and you're just looking around like, damn, Chitlin circuit. I think at that point, then you take Payne and you just say, all right, that was the guy that they liked all along, and you know, you take him and then you move on. So for me, it'll be one of the safeties. I would prefer Derwin James, but I'll take Minka just the same. I have no problems with either one of them.
How would you feel if the Redskins drafted Darius Geis at 13?
No. I talked about that earlier. No. No. Want no parts of Darius Geis at 13. And I think he's a good running back. I don't want him at 13.
I don't want him at 13 either. If they take Darius Geis, I will be a little perturbed, but I won't be like pissed off. Like, oh, come on, man, what the hell is going on? I'm like, huh?
The only reaction, the only way that they get that kind of reaction, the same reaction they got out of me when they drafted my man out of Alabama in the second round last year.
Yeah,
Ryan Anderson. The only way they get that kind of reaction out of me in the first round is if they take a cornerback. That'd be the only way.
I should have traveled with Lord Jesus. Yeah, definitely. Like, I definitely get cornerback or they draft like a wide receiver. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And I have one more question.
Yep.
I remember you saying that you know who Josh Doctson is. Who is Josh Doctson?
I said I think I know who he is. I think I know he's a number 2 in this league. He's not a number 1. That's what I think. That's what I think. I've come to the conclusion. But again, I don't want to write him off yet, because last year was pretty much his rookie season. So I don't want to do that to him. But at the same time, I saw a level of softness. No, you know what? That's not the right word. I saw a level of finesse from him last year that it was a little disconcerting. And I saw a guy that wasn't the route runner that I thought he was. And I saw a guy that in some contested situations had some drops that I thought that was one of his strengths. So it was his rookie season essentially last year. So I want to see act number 2, but I think I know who he is, man. I think I know.
Yeah, I won't see how sophomore campaign goes, but it looks like he is a number 2 receiver in this league. He's really good number 2, though. I don't get it twisted. I really think Josh is a lot of talent. I really think he's a damn good receiver in this league. He's just not an alpha dog. I don't see.
No, exactly. That is the perfect way to describe it. He's not an alpha. That is the perfect way to describe it. He's not an alpha.
He's definitely damn good beta, though. He's not alpha.
Yep.
And do you think Carl Richardson could turn to that guy? I don't know. I'm asking.
You say who?
You think Paul Richardson or?
Nah, man. If Paul Richardson just comes in, we don't have one right now. That's why I thought they were going to go after Des Bryant. I think that they are going to go with the thought process that Doctson can still be a number 1. Richardson will be, the number 2. Crowder will hold it down in the slot. He'll have a bounce back year. Jordan Reed will be healthy. You still got Vernon Davis. You get Chris Thompson back. I think they feel like they've got enough stuff. So we'll see.
It's number 1 guy by committee, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting, man. What the hell is going to happen? But I hope everybody stays healthy. If everyone stays healthy, I think the offense will be pretty good, though. I really do.
I think so too. I think we got a shot.
It was with Kirk, I think it's going to be really efficient. I'm cool with that. I'll take it.
All right, man. Hey, Tones, appreciate you chiming in, bruh. As always, man. Take it easy, bruh. No doubt. All right. Always fun to chop it up with Tones. We got about 5 minutes left in the stream. So if you want to try to get in here, get in here. Dominic Garlic, before I get to Dominic's comment, let me check Twitter real quick. At Redskins Recon says, what's the best case for us in terms of the Giants pick? Who would you least like them to acquire, Chubb, Barkley, or Darnold? I would much rather them select of that group Darnold. I'm not a big Sam Darnold guy. I'm not afraid of Sam Darnold. I'm not. Chubb could terrorize us like JPP did for the last 5 years. I mean, every time JPP showed up in Washington, he got 2 or 3 sacks in a game. He could be that guy that just kicks our ass and torments us for the next decade. I would prefer to not see that. And Barkley, I don't know if I'm afraid of him in New York because they don't have an offensive line, but you never know. He's one of those types of backs, man. I don't know if I want to deal with that either, but give me Darnold. I prefer Darnold doesn't scare me. In any event, you're on the you're on the Redskins report live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, what's up, Lou? This is Michael. I called in a couple of times. I don't know if you remember me.
Yeah.
What's up, bro? I'm hearing you guys talk about these young college kids that's coming out of that's coming into the NFL. Now, one thing that my mom and my dad always told me, she said, "Boy, when grown folks are talking, mind your business." Listen, I'm a young buck when it comes down to breaking down film. I'm not going to sit on your podcast and pretend that I'm the Mel Kipers of the world or whatever. Yeah. I'm the type of guy that I sit at home on a Saturday morning and I look at these college players and I look at who pop out my stream. Right. Who, you know what I mean? Yep. And Derwin James, I'm in love with this kid. I think he would change the defense. I think he's a great player. So I just want your opinion on him.
That would be my pick at 13 if he's available. My man Tones just called in and said, "Who do you want at 13?" That'd be my number one pick. Derwin James is the guy that I think, to me, fits the need of the Redskins and also gives you a combination of best player available and also fitting a need for this Redskins football team. And I just think he's a hell of a talent. So if you ask me, you put a gun to my head and say, "Hey, man, I need you to make a pick at 13," it'd be Derwin James. Now, will he be there? I think we're not alone in that assessment. A lot of people understand that this guy is a hell of a football player. And in today's NFL, where these tight ends are getting out of control in terms of athleticism and being able to run, these backs coming out of the backfield are just as dangerous. You need a guy like Derwin James that's a Swiss Army knife that can play 40 yards away from the line of scrimmage, but also play 5 to 7 yards, to the line of scrimmage, can run with these tight ends, can play underneath in some zones, but can also blitz. The man had 5.5 career sacks. He can also be an effective blitzer. I mean, the guy can do just about everything, and so I'd love to add him to the Redskins roster for sure.
Well, let me ask you another question. I want to ask you about Jay Gruden. Yep. At pick number 13, I want to ask you, how much stake should Jay Gruden have? Because to me, in my opinion, me and Jay Gruden have a weird relationship, Louie. It's like that girl that you meet, right? Y'all have good conversation on the phone. She's really sweet, but it's something about her that I don't want to commit to her. You understand what I'm saying? She's nice, she's cool, but I'm not ready to commit to her. I'm not really ready to commit to John Gruden. I'm not saying that he's a terrible coach, but I think he's an average coach. I don't know if he's going to get us over the hump, if he's going to get us to that promised land. So I want to ask you, how much stake should he have on this 13th pick, and how important of a year is this for him?
I think that's the latter of that question is the most important. How big of a year is this for Jay Gruden? Because although he got that extension, I could easily see heads rolling if this because that trade for Alex Smith was, for all intents and purposes, to keep the Redskins from being bad and more importantly, to keep them competitive. And if you go out and get a guy that everybody perceives to be an upgrade over Kirk Cousins, which I don't necessarily agree with, but there are a lot of people saying that, then they expect to win. And you looked at the way the season was going before all the injuries, they think that this is a good roster. Now, contrary to popular belief, I don't know how good this roster truly is, but they were playing good football before the injury bug bit this team last season. So they feel like they upgraded the quarterback position, which I don't know if I agree with or not. And you bring in some more pieces to help, some more reinforcements, and they probably think that this is a 9, 10, 11 win football team. And if Jay's only able to get 6 to 7 wins out of this thing, he may be gone. And I hear what you're saying with Jay Gruden. A lot of people have that same type of relationship with Jay Gruden where they're not sure about him. And the reason you're not sure is because he hasn't won consistently. And I've said this a ton, that it seems like, and I can't confirm nor deny this, but I can only tell you what I'm seeing from afar. It seems like the teams that are winning have dictators, have guys that are hard asses as coaches. You know, you look at Jacksonville and what they were able to do last year and how they were able to turn things around. And they had a guy that was a hard ass that came in and said, look, this is how y'all used to do it. We taking all the ping pong tables, all the foosball tables out of the locker room. I'm giving y'all assigned lockers. We switching it up because what y'all did before didn't work. Y'all were a 4, 5, 3-win team every year. So you see guys like that come in, change the game, and you look at Bill Belichick. Look, I don't know about Jay. I like Jay a lot. I think we can win with Jay, but the way he coaches hasn't yielded wins and hasn't yielded positive dividends. So that's the thing. It's a results-based business, and Jay hasn't won enough. And so I'm hoping this is the year that he's able to turn the corner because I like Jay a lot, man. I think he's going to be a hell of a coach, but gotta win.
One more thing, Lou, and I'm going to let you get out of here. I'm going to be a little disrespectful to you because, listen, whenever I need any information about the Redskins, whenever I want to get a good breakdown of the Redskins, I'll come on your podcast. I mean, I think you're great. But why would you guys be so upset if the Washington Redskins get the running back, what's his name?
Guys? Guys?
I'm sorry?
You talking about Guys? Darius Guys?
Guys, or the other running back, the one from Alabama. What is his name?
You talking about from Georgia? You talking about Sony Michel?
Yeah, from Georgia. What's the guy name?
Sony Michel?
No, I'm talking about the running back. The running back that everybody's saying is probably gonna. He's one of the top running backs. He's the number one running back.
Not Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I'm thinking this guy may fall. I'm thinking this.
Really?
You
think there's no way he falls out of the top 7 of this draft?
Even if he doesn't fall, then we have to go to the other running back. Listen, we need a running back. We need a dynamic running back. Look at what Ezekiel Elliott did for the Dallas Cowboys. Not only did he change the Dallas Cowboys, but he helped Dak Prescott. Listen, I'm not completely sold on Alex Smith.
Right.
Alex Smith is a decent quarterback in this league, and I don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm not going to act like the man is booty cheek.
Right.
But listen, he had Kareem Hunt. He had a lot of toys in his playpen. The man was never bored. He always had something to play with.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And we don't have that. We don't have a Kareem Hunt. We don't have a Travis Kelce. So what's wrong with drafting a running back? Look at what Todd Gurley did for Jared Goff.
All right. Okay. Now you hear these names you rattling off, right? Todd Gurley was the 10th overall pick. Would have been a top 5 pick had he not been coming off of an ACL. Ezekiel Elliott was the 4th or 5th pick in the draft, and we know he's a stud and he deserved to be a top 5 pick. Darius Geis is not on those guys' level, and that's the problem that we have with him at 13. It's not that we don't like Geis or we don't think the Redskins, don't need a running back. The Redskins need a running back. We're not saying don't take a running back. We're just saying don't take a running back at 13. Now, if Barkley was there, come on now. If Barkley was there, you wouldn't even hesitate. You wouldn't even you would run and sprint to the table to give them the card with his name on it to make the pick.
Talk that shit, Lou. Talk that shit.
But the problem is he's not going to be there. Barkley won't be there. Geis is going to be there, but he's not worthy of the 13th pick in my estimation. You can get better value now if the Redskins were to trade back in the first round. Geis would definitely be a guy that you would look at and say, hey, look, he's now in our wheelhouse. Take him. And I wouldn't have a problem with that. But when you're drafting as high as the Redskins are, it means you have a bunch of holes and you need to get the best player available at 13. If we were drafting at 28, that means we were a game away from the Super Bowl, a game or two. Then you could take a Darius Geis in the first round. Now at that point, it's like best player available, but trying to fit a need. But hey, whatever we take, we cool with it at that point. When you draft in top 15, you stink, and you need to take the best player available. You need to get the most out of your pick. And I don't think taking Darius Geis at 13 would be maximizing the 13th overall pick.
My only thing, and I know I'm holding up a lot of time, but my only thing is, Lou, we don't have a game changer. We don't have a playmaker. When you think of Atlanta, you think of Julio Jones. When you think of the Giants, you think of Odell Beckham Jr. We don't have a guy that can take over the game. We don't have a guy that we could depend on. you know, we got a bunch of average players on the offensive side of the ball. And maybe it just means, you know, we got to, and I like the young wide receiver that we have, but I just feel like we need somebody that's going to be dynamic. You understand what I'm saying? I'm
with you, bro. And I think that's why we want a running back. We just don't want Darius Geis at 13. And
so you're saying we shouldn't reach for him?
No, that's my point. Is that that particular position, at the running back position, you can get some good. I mean, you just named Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt was a third-round pick last year, fourth-round pick last year for the Kansas City Chiefs. Right. Alvin Kamara was a third-round pick for the New Orleans Saints last year. Jordan Howard was a fifth-round pick 2 years ago for the Chicago Bears. I mean, you can get value later in the draft. The problem is I don't trust the Redskins organization to be able to make a good enough selection at the running back position because they haven't proven that they can do that later in the draft. That's why I want to get it out the way in the second round. The later on we get in the draft, the more likely it is they're going to botch the whole process and F it up. And we're going to be sitting around talking about needing a running back again next year because we drafted another Samaje Perine.
Right. Well, Lou, man, I thank you for having me on, man. I love your podcast. I love watching it. Hopefully you do it again and I can be able to come back on and talk football with you again.
Hey, no doubt, man. Appreciate you chiming in, bro. Always a pleasure. Take care.
All right, bro.
All right. So that's going to conclude the show tonight, man. Always fun catching up with my fellow Redskin brethren and sisterin. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate you guys joining me on the program tonight. I'll be doing this again tomorrow, but we'll be talking the entire National Football League. But if you want to show up tomorrow, you want to still talk Redskins, everything's on the table tomorrow. So we're in preparation for the draft. Remember, draft party, Louie T Network, 7:30. We start with the pregame for the draft as we prepare for the 2018 NFL Draft, and then the draft party itself at 8. Join me on Thursday night. I'll be here all weekend long. Thursday night, day 1 of the draft, your man Louie T live. Friday night for day 2 of the draft, your man Louie T will be live. And then Saturday we'll come and we'll wrap it up once again and clean up the draft after it's met its conclusion. So I'm the place to be for the 2018 NFL Draft. So you know where to find me. We got a lot to discuss. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, I am a Redskins fan etched in Burgundy and Gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington Redskins. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Check out the podcast. That's coming, and I'm about to upload a shit ton of videos. Stay tuned for that. But until then, have a good one. I'll see you guys on the other side.